pushing and kept it moving.
Mm.
And really, I didn't even want no other job after that. Like, you just killed my spirit. You just snatched the soul out of my body the way you talk to me.
Wow. I can imagine, we talk about it, from a political standpoint in this country, we talk about systematic racism, and it exists. And it's so amazing sometimes how we look around and so many people really have the audacity to believe that our young black men are not stereotyped, that they're not, I call it typecasted from, the jeans that they wear, the jewelry around their neck. It's an automatic assumption. They can look at your address and your zip codes, and suddenly you become that person. And here you were attempting to go somewhat legit and do some things the right way, and then you get typecasted. So what was it that got you sent to prison?
On this last go round,
Yes. No. Well, let's pause there for a moment. Was there another incarceration before the last go around?
absolutely it was.
Okay.
I was actually on 15 years probation from my first prison stint.
Okay.
I went in. I went in at 16, well, 17 years old.
Okay.
I got out at 20.
Okay.
I was on 15 years probation.
Oh
Let me
wow.
tell you how God. I have a real hard praying mother, and let me tell you how God worked.
Mm-hmm.
After that 3 year sentence I did, I got out on 15 years probation. I get
Okay.
into it with a huge guy, like a Debo type guy,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I end up violating my probation behind
Mm.
this guy. Okay, I get locked up. My mom spent every dime in her bank account to get me an attorney.
Mm.
This attorney that she went and got, he worked out a deal with the prosecutors. And the deal was me to go back to prison, but only for 45 days, right?
Wow.
After I do those 45 days, the 15-year probation is gone.
Oh wow.
I jumped on it so fast. I say 45 days compared to 15 years probation?
Take
Why
it.
not go back to 45 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went back to prison for 45 days. I get out of prison and I'm a free man now, no probation or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I stay out of prison. You know, they have this thing in the state prison where if you get in trouble within 3 years of getting out of prison,
Mm-hmm.
like you will face the maximum penalty that charge carry, whatever
Oh
charge you
wow.
caught. So I was lucky. I stayed out, after 3 years or whatever, and then I ended up getting in trouble in Georgia, and I was barred out of the whole state of Georgia after my 3 years of
Oh
staying
wow.
out of trouble. Yeah. So I go up to Georgia and I end up getting another attempted robbery charge. Yeah, I used to play with the gun heavy. So I get another attempted robbery charge and I get away from Georgia. It's crazy because like the way I got away from Georgia, a lot of people, they have their own opinions about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was taken up there to Georgia with a friend.
Mm-hmm.
A friend took me up and he put me on a lick, which was a robbery. That's what they say, a lick or whatever. He
Mm-hmm.
put me on a lick up in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And we do the lick and he's the getaway driver. How about we come out and we attempt to get away and he ended up driving right back by the scene because he didn't know the directions where he was going. And we end up running into the police at that point. However, I took off and ran. I got away. He got caught. And I mean, I don't. I mean, you have a lot of religious people maybe watching this or whatever. So I would just kind of say, he told on me, and They came down and picked me up, and that's when I was brought out of the state of Georgia.
Gotcha. So the lick that you hit in Georgia, was that what sent you to prison for this? Okay,
Mm,
catch me up.
Okay,
Okay.
so after that, oh, I get out of jail in Georgia, and the deal was for me not to ever come back.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's how you got barred.
That's how I got barred from Georgia. And
Okay.
I said, okay, I won't come back because I don't live up here anyway.
Right. You kind of get back to Florida. I feel you. Okay.
Right, right.
Okay.
And so, you know, a few years later passed by, and I'm 28 years old, and that's when I caught this federal charge.
Mm,
It's on a whole nother level from that state stuff.
gotcha. So we know when
Yeah,
the saying on the streets is when the feds come, they got you. And
yeah,
talk about what that sentence was like, and that'll lead us into talking about the First Step Act. I actually did a lot of reading on it to understand it. So the feds came knocking. What were they knocking for?
the first time they came knocking, they thought they had me.
Mm,
I was a gun charge of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, right?
mm-hmm.
So I go to the and I tell these guys that's already in the Fed that I'm going to trial. So they like, what you going to, what you in here for? So I lied to them and I told them I was in there for drugs. My lawyer told me that so many phone calls came in to the prosecutor that these guys was doing a drug activity with me, and they know all about my case because I told these guys a lie. So
Wow.
it was like real funny to my attorney, but he said that's a good thing you ain't telling what you was really in here for. So we prepare for trial, and on that day of trial, I go in to pick a jury, and there's no one in there. So what happened with that case was it got thrown out the court, and the reason it got thrown out of court is because the police that arrested me for this case,
Mm-hmm.
he was ordered by him. He was ordered by his boss to arrest me for the case, right?
Wow.
And when I got ready to go to trial, the same police that arrested me, he was under investigation himself because of me
Wow.
and him had did so many robberies together.
Oh, wow.
And I was working with a sheriff officer doing all kind of robberies. He would give me the information I need. We would bust the money down the middle and all of that stuff. So when I was in the Fed and I was getting ready to go to trial, this officer knew he could not come in that courtroom and
Mm-hmm.
try and talk against me because there was so much dirt that I had on him. He couldn't afford it. So
Wow.
I was pushing it all the way. My mind was made up. My mind
Wow.
was made up. So they tried the little trickery with me. They was like, well, plea out to these 3 years and we'll just give you 3 years. I say, no, I ain't taking three nothing. Let's go. We're going to trial.
Wow.
We're going to trial.
Because you had leverage.
I had so much leverage. I mean, the police report and all was wrote basically in my favor
Wow.
because this officer who arrested me had also been doing like robberies. Like he was doing robberies with me, not physically, but he was setting up the
I was going to
robberies.
say he was
So
aiding you. He was giving you the
he was
information, as
direct.
you allegedly. Wow.
Right. So I ended up beating that case, and the federal prosecutor was really, really upset that I got away from them and I slipped out of their hands.
Mm.
So a couple years later, they finally got me. And when they sentenced me this time, they sentenced me to 22 years. And they
Woo.
brought up the first they brought up the first case from when I was trying to go to trial, and I pushed them. They brought
Mm.
that case. They talked about it, and I told them that case don't have nothing to do with what's going on today.
Wow.
So
So
it showed the bias and everything. They showed it in the courtroom, and it was like the judge just sat there and listened, and he didn't care. He was on the prosecutor's side.
absolutely.
Well, she
Wow. So 22, what year was this that you got sentenced? 22 years.
that was in 2005.
Okay. So 2005, you get sentenced to
Yeah,
22 years, and it was federal prison, correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So 22 years in federal prison, and of course, we fast forward, and again, I'm excited because I see you on the other side. But we're taking them on this journey so they can understand. Here you are, having a product of your environment, made some really unhealthy choices. You know, let's just say ish happened. It just happened. Life happened, and you
Right.
made these choices. And here we are. You're sentenced to 22 years in prison. Whew, going into prison, you had been so many times. So by now, really, had it felt like normalcy for you?
I was numb when
Okay.
I first went to prison, and the crazy thing about it, I don't think most guys will say this, but the crazy thing about it is when I was sentenced to 22 years, I didn't even worry about the 22 years I was sentenced to. I was
Wow.
worried about my relationship,
Wow. Wow. So
and it
how
was
did?
crazy. I mean, before I even started worrying about the 22 years, maybe a couple years had already passed by
Mm,
because I never claimed it.
okay.
It's crazy. My mom always told me when I used to talk to my mom on the phone, she was like, "Oh, I'm not claiming that. I'm not claiming those 22 years. You're not gonna stay in there for 22 years. I'm not claiming it." And I used to
Mm,
be like, kind of nonchalant, and I'd be like, I wouldn't worry about it anyway. But I have no idea how I'm gonna get out. That's the crazy
wow.
part. I don't get out. I can't read and write. I can't do no law work. I don't know anything. I'm just in here. All I know how
Wow.
to do is defend
So did you
to
did
the
you get
best
into
of.
trouble while you were in?
Oh yeah, you don't get in trouble. I mean, a fraction of people, it's a very, very small fraction of people don't get in trouble when they get incarcerated.
Mm,
I sometimes I don't know how that's possible.
right. Because from everything
Yeah,
that I hear, you gotta come in fighting. You gotta come in and you gotta defend yourself so that you don't get singled out or picked on or.
and federal prison is not really like that.
Okay.
When you go to the pen, it's a different ball game in the penitentiary or the feds. The feds have different levels
Okay.
of incarceration,
Okay.
and the penitentiary is the highest level of the incarceration. So from that point, it goes down to the levels are lower and lower and lower. So you have the penitentiary, you have the high, you have the medium, then you have the low, and then you have the camp. I
Wow.
started out at a penitentiary level.
Okay.
I only stayed in the penitentiary for like 2 weeks though, and I was automatically transferred to the medium, like which was a medium high.
Okay.
And then I went from a medium high to a medium, and I worked my way all the way down to a low. Then I worked my way all the way down to a camp,
Oh wow.
and I was
So
released from the.
released from the camp. So let's
Yeah,
talk about this First Step Act. And for those of you who don't know what the First Step Act is, I'm going to give you a little high level overview of it. It is a measure that Donald Trump signed into law in the late December of 2018. And it became, by all definitions, one of the most significant criminal justice reform legislations in years. And what this law actually did is it made retroactive its reforms under the Fair Sentencing Act that transcended in 2010. And so, of course, this law reformed sentencing laws that had wrongfully or disproportionately harmed those of us in the African American community. And that's just me paraphrasing. I'll give you more information on it shortly. But I want to talk to you, Devell. Devell, tell me, how did you get chosen to be released from prison 7 years early? Like, talk about that experience.
well, it wasn't nobody in the world better to be chosen than me. That law was made for me,
Mm,
and the reason I say that is because the things I'm doing today and how I reinvented myself, how I better myself during my time of incarceration, how I applied myself with education, learning, teaching myself, and asking questions, not being afraid to ask, and putting my pride to the side. So I learned how to read and write.
praise God.
And once I learned how to read and write, I got my GED, which was huge, and
Yes.
still to the day, it's huge
I
for
got
me.
chills for you. Yes.
Yeah, so I reinvented myself, and once I reinvented myself and I learned how to read and write, I felt like there wasn't nothing else I could do. Like I can do anything. I can do anything I want to do. my GED made me so cocky and arrogant. I'm that guy. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
I'm that dude. So
Mm-hmm.
who else, who else better the First Step Act fits? Me.
Wow.
It fits me. So I am the First Step Act.
And I love that. For those of you listening, the First Step Act takes several steps to ease the mandatory minimum sentences. And if you understood, Mr. Hawkins was sentenced to 22 years. And of course, the system was designed to take basically three strikes you're out. The system was designed to really lock them up, lock people like Mr. Hawkins up, and at that time in his life in that season, and really throw away the key. That's really what the system was looking for. What it also does is it eases a three strikes rule so that people with 3 or more consecutive convictions, including drug offenses, automatically get 25 years instead of life. And that's kind of what they did for you. They gave you 22 years, which is 3 years shy of that mandatory 25-year sentence. It also restricts the current practice of stacking gun charges against drug offenders to add possible decades to their prison sentences. And it increases good time credit. And I hear you saying, which allowed well-behaved inmates to cut their prison sentences by additional week for each year that they had been incarcerated. And so what I'm hearing you, and they made the law retroactive. I know that there's a lot of people on the line who are, I'm not here to do politics, but again, Donald Trump did create this legislation. He did put it into play. You saw people like Kim Kardashian and other people who were advocating for this type of legislation to come forth. And the other changes it made for women who are incarcerated improved the conditions in prisons, including banning the shackling of women during childbirth and requiring that inmates will be placed closer to their families. So when I look at this law, my God, here you are getting out of prison 7 years early because of this law, and I love it. You said you are Mr. First Step. The big question I have for you is, how do you feel about Donald Trump afterwards, after coming out of prison?
I feel like he gave me another opportunity 7 years early to basically um show everything that I have accomplished during my prison time, and to actually be with my kids and everything before all my kids graduate, to be with them and to finish sharing my life with my family and my kids. I feel like he did a very good thing for the African American community,
Mm-hmm.
and like that law was like will always and forever be one of the best things that happened right here in America, with him signing that into law. And I want to thank Kim Kardashian, Van Jones, 50 Cuts, and all the people who fought for that law to be passed.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give them a big thanks. So it was definitely. Let me see. This law, it means so much to me that I vowed to be the example
Mm.
for a lot of people in my community, whether they're younger than me, older than me, the people who know me. This law has made me commit to something greater than myself,
Mm.
and I thank Trump for that. I thank Donald Trump for signing that into law.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of regardless of what anyone else may think about Donald Trump, he did a very good deed when he signed this law.
Do you feel like you get ridiculed for your support of Donald Trump? Or do you feel like you support the law that he put into place versus Mr. Donald Trump himself? Do you get ridiculed for
Do
that?
I? I mean, no, not at all.
Okay,
Not at all.
I got you. And I asked because one of our listeners was asking the question: How do people come at
He
you? I
gave me a,
think you said what?
this gave me another. I mean, this gave me another chance at life. So if you're uneducated about this law and what it did for the people,
Mm-hmm.
then you will have some type of negative comment or thought about it because you haven't looked into it and seen the impact that it had, particularly on the black community and the black incarcerated, the mass incarceration and stuff from the black people. There were so many
Absolutely.
people that, that was released.
And you bring up a very good point. You can hate, I'm listening to one of our listeners, you can hate Donald Trump, you can love Donald Trump, but Obama didn't do it, right? Presidents
No, he
before
didn't.
them didn't do it. Actually, we had some presidents preceding them who went forth to make stricter laws. You know, that's kind of how we got here, is because of
Right.
other political leaders who had enacted even tougher legislation.
Right. And I don't take any credit from Mr. Obama.
Right.
He did some things, when he cut the law from the 100 to 1 down to the 18 to 1 crack ratio. When he changed that, it released some people from incarceration, but it did not release as many people as Donald Trump did when he signed this First Step Act into law.
And I think it
It was
impacted the First Step Act impacted about 4,000 people, from what I'm
absolutely,
understanding. Okay.
absolutely,
Wow.
and that is a mass. That's a lot of people being able to leave out of the system years early.
And keep in mind, folks, our system here in the United States, we have about 181,000 in the federal system, but over 2.1 million plus people that are incarcerated in jails and prisons around the country. What do you think the biggest issue is with men and women coming home from prison, Devell?
I think the biggest issue is they don't have the support that they need, particularly when you do a long prison sentence like I have. I mean, life hit me so fast. I didn't even have time to think. My first week home, I was in my first week I was paying bills already.
Oh, wow.
Not even a week. I was home maybe about 3 or 4 days, and I had a $900 bill to pay.
Wow.
I don't even know how I did it. Just the grace of God and the support from my cousin Curtis Crossley, aka Word, uh, Timothy Larry, aka Cheese. Those two guys are like my biggest supporters when I came home from jail. I had no clothes to put on,
Wow.
um, anything to wear if it wasn't for those two guys. So I think for a lot of men and women coming out, they are really unprepared. Even though they think they prepared, they really are unprepared, and there's not enough resources to help the people release from prison, particularly after doing a long prison sentence like I have.
You know,
I think we should. I honestly think we should have more government benefits for those people who do 10 years or better. I think we should be qualified to get some type of government assistance and checks that's reasonable
right.
to help survive out here and to help us, readjust to life in society. The crazy thing about it is on this First Step Act, I was denied.
Oh,
My first go
wow.
around, I was denied. I was like, how am I denied when I fit all the qualifications? I said, something can't be right.
Right.
What is this? A wake-up call? Something can't be right. So I kept fighting. And all of a sudden, I get a letter from the what they call public defender, the federal public defender office sent me a letter, and they was like, "Hey, call us because you qualify for this law." In the back of my mind, I already had told them, I know I qualify. I already filed, and they denied me for some reason.
Wow.
And I was released on it, and when I was released on it, like maybe 28 days later, I was getting out of prison, and I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
man, don't play with me like that no more. Don't deny me and then come and then release me.
Right.
What's wrong with you guys? You playing with my emotions and stuff like what?
Wow.
So yeah, I think we should have more resources for the people, the men and women that's getting out of prison early.
You know, it's interesting you say that because when I was incarcerated as a juvenile and in the state of New York, when you become an emancipated youth, by the time I was 16, the system was kind of sick of me. And they were basically just like, you know what, you got to get out, you got to go. And when I was 16, they emancipated me. And I agree with you on that, because the biggest issue for people transitioning out of any form of incarceration, federal prison, state prison, the foster care system, there's so many deficits there. And I often remember the only thing that I had saving me was that I was allowed to get on welfare. I was given a stipend of food stamps. I was actually given cash, a little cash assistance at that time, and I was allowed to finish school. And I got a waiver so I could actually join the military. But I agree with you, because the biggest issue is, and the reason why we have such a high rate of people going back in, brings me to one of my favorite movies, Shawshank Redemption, right? And one of the he talks about the fact that they want you locked up internally. They keep you in this system, and that's really not reforming anyone for 25 years. And when a person comes out, the world has changed. Technology has changed. Laws have changed. Your community probably doesn't even look anything like it did when you left. So it's not fair to say it's not enough. I love that it's called the First Step Act. But I would want to challenge our government and the political affiliates to begin to do more, because in other countries, the United States is one of the few countries who doesn't have something in place. You know, they just thrust you back out there, and then they threaten you with reincarceration through probation. And if you mess up, well, instead of giving me the threat of death, which is what most people who come out and who are on probation and they've got to call in and answer to someone, let's fight for more programs that will do exactly what you said, Mr. Hawkins, reform and give people the resources that they need. I know there's somebody out there saying, well, you know, they were in the system and our taxpayer dollars shouldn't pay for it. But you know what? Respectfully, we got our taxpayer dollars paying for a whole lot of bullshit that it should not be paying for in the first place, when we could be creating better citizens, giving them the tools to get GEDs and to get education. I don't know what your goals are. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I just want to let you know I stand with you in that there needs to be more. And I'm glad that it's called the Firkins First Step. So now we can go on to the second step. And again, let's talk about your journey right now. How have things been since you've been home?
Things been, I haven't even had time to think about how things really been since I've been home. There's been a lot going on, and I really haven't had time to really think. I think things have just been like, I make it look normal, but in reality, I have my struggles. I have my struggles, but the best thing that happened to me was me to be released and to be reunited with like my kids and my
Okay.
mom, because I know my mom, she was like, she never thought that I can't say her thoughts. I can't say her thoughts, but I believe she's proud of me,
She is.
and my kids are happy that I'm home. So things been, I guess they've been good, but I'm just not content with it. You know, I'm not content because I know it's so much more out here, and there's goals that I'm trying to reach, and you know, I'm trying to accomplish something for myself. So I'm just not content. So it's not like you're gonna get a reaction out of me where I'm like, "Oh, things been great. I'm excited." This is yes, I'm excited. Yes, I'm
Right.
excited.
You're free.
But where where I'm trying to go at, I ain't got there yet. You
Okay, well,
know,
let's
so
talk
I'm on
about that.
my journey. I'm on my journey right now. I'm on my journey right now. So
I love, I love that. You know, you've written
yeah,
4 books, and
yeah,
you're an inventor. So you've
yes, ma'am.
birthed yourself through these trials and tribulations. You're a father. Tell me more about the author and the inventor, because I needed to take you on this journey with me today so that the listeners could understand. You know,
Okay,
you are Mr. First Step.
that's me. I am Mr. First Step. So as an author, I keep it gritty. I keep it street,
Okay.
and the people are loving it. Like the book, yes, I have 4 books,
Okay.
but I was advised to slow down. Nicole made me pump the brakes, yo. So
Oh,
I was advised to say, just take it one at a time. Let
okay.
the people feel you, let the people grow with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I took her advice. I'm always take her advice, of course. So what I did was this book right here,
Okay.
I Come Before You by Devell Hawkins.
Yes,
It
sir.
is available on Amazon for anyone who want to get it. You just search my name on Amazon, Devell Hawkins, and you will see my material there.
Okay.
So the author is a guy who has a very aggressive mentality, but also a sense of humor. I can make you laugh. I can make you cry. I can make you sad. I can make you angry. And that guy, I love getting into the mind state of uh,
Your
my
characters are
author
amazing.
material. So yeah, so the author himself, I take you back through a lot of things basically that I experienced
Mm-hmm.
through my life,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things that I seen in my life,
Mm.
and I take you to places that most people come from where I come from, particularly the poverty area, they can relate to it. A lot of people in the suburb areas, they enjoy reading the things that I write due to the fact that they can walk the streets and they can live that life without being physically threatened.
Mm-hmm. That's real. That's real.
And so I take them on a journey that keeps them excited.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so far, I haven't had a bad review, and I'm actually looking for that bad review for the simple fact I want to tighten up my craft. I want to be even better.
Mm.
I was I was at the mall today and I was physically selling some books and just getting myself out there, getting my foot wet
Mm-hmm.
and meeting people and everything. And I told them, I said, hey, look, I'm the next Tyler Perry.
I
I
love
am the
it.
next Tyler Perry.
I love it. Tyler Perry, I need you to
So,
hear, I need
I
you to
say
take a
that,
look.
I say that some tend to laugh, and I tell them off rip. When you read this book, you'll see exactly why I say I am the next Tyler Perry. I
Mm.
have movies written. Remember back in the days, we used to see these movies come out, these gangster movies come out, Set It Off, Boys in the Hood, and stuff like
Yes.
that. And
You know,
the
I'm thinking of
people were so
Snowfall when I think of you.
right. The people were so excited to see it, and it was the best thing going. Those are classics and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I, I am the new, today's new gangster writing thriller. I'm gonna take you down through there.
Wow.
Um, it's I mean it's so exciting, man. The people are asking me, when is book 2 coming out to I Come Before You? When you gonna write book 2? When you gonna hey, so hold on, slow down, little mama. Everybody ain't got a chance to see book 1 yet.
Right. Well, that's a beautiful
Right.
thing. And I think the listeners need to understand this was a gentleman who could not read, who could not write, who had a dark past, who went through some challenges, went into the system, got incarcerated, laws were enacted, things happened, and grace unfolded to allow him out. And now he's a 4-time author, an inventor, a father. He is the example of what reforming of our criminal justice system is becoming. And I'm excited. What did you invent? Tell me about that. Can I be nosy and
Well,
talk
well,
about what you invented?
first of all, I want to say I don't even know why Mr. Tyler Perry haven't got in touch with me yet.
Oh, he's going
He's
to.
sleep.
He's going
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
He's going to.
He, the top, he missing a lot of money right here. But
Speak. You keep speaking
yeah,
it and keep affirming it. Watch and watch God work.
absolutely. And as far as what I invented, I don't have my material here with me,
Okay.
but I'm gonna just explain it to you. I have the only cookware, which is a cooking pot, where you can stir up your food without removing the lid. My lid to the cooking pot enables you to stir your food without removing the lid. And I have to say that again so it can register in your mind.
Oh, it's
How
registered.
is this how is this possible? I'm not just talking about you.
Oh
I'm
no, I
talking to
feel
all
you,
the
and I'm
viewers.
ready to buy one because I love cooking.
Yeah, right, right. So my cooking pot is designed to um attach and detach utensils. All right.
Wow.
You can attach and detach utensils to the lid. And the lid is not just a one part lid, it has multiple features to it, which is a two-part lid, and the center rotates in a 360 and it locks in place once you put it on top of the pot, and you are able to stir your food with whichever utensil you choose to use to stir your food. It helps prevent steam burns and pop-ups, especially if you're cooking like grits or some type of soup, and the grits has the tendency to pop up on your hand and give you third
Trust me,
degree
I
burn.
know.
Yes, yes. So there is like no other pot in the world like it.
Bruh. Bruh, you do
For your sauce,
understand you have,
use it for it's a great tool for sauces as well. Like if you like to cook your own sauce or create and make your
yes.
own sauce, gravy or stuff like that, it's a great tool for that.
Oh my
And
God.
nobody in the type of cookware. And I've been waiting for somebody like Floyd Mayweather to say, "Hey, let me get that from you. Let me get that patent. Let me be a partner
You
or
ain't you don't
somebody."
even need no partners. What God is getting ready to do for you, Mr. Hawkins, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, but I will tell you this. You will lack for nothing. And the story of redemption, I got chills right now. First of all, I cook grits and I got burned. I cooked the meanest jalapeno cheese grits, heavy whipping cream, and I'm always getting popped by a grit. So I'm gonna be one of the first persons to buy it. You don't even need a Floyd Mayweather. The world's going to have it. You just continue to push forward. You are so dope. Like I believe you know how dope you are, and I'm so glad that you went on this journey right now through this thing called life to bring you
Yes,
here.
ma'am. I am
And
too.
I'm so grateful that you came to share your story with us today. Like what's next? You have wow. And for all of you who are listening, you know everybody always says statistically, if we listen to statistics, and I love statistics because I like to challenge them, and I love the rules because they're meant to be broken. But at the end of the day, statistically, Mr. Hawkins, they say that people who have had the trials and tribulations that you and I have had, we are supposed to be under jails and under prisons. And I thank God for your freedom. I'm grateful for the First Step Act. I know that you have these amazing books. You're a writer. You're an inventor. You've set yourself up to have a multi-million-dollar empire. Just watch. We're going to sit back and watch it and touch and agree and remember this moment today. What's next? Give our listeners a final piece of advice and tell us what's next for you as we close.
What's next
Yes.
is me doing some. I will be doing some speaking at schools, colleges, and community. I am gonna change some lives. My purpose is to change some lives and to touch some lives of the youth and what we have going out here today. When the younger guys, they respect me. So especially in my community,
Mm-hmm.
and when I speak, they understand me
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
better than, yeah, understand someone who hasn't been through what I've been through.
That part.
So yeah, so that's what's next for me. What's next for me is to help change some of the lives of our youth out here, that's lost, the ones that don't have a father or a father
Mm-hmm.
figure in their life, because we have a lot of single parents, which is mothers. We have some single fathers too,
Mm-hmm.
but the ones that just have a single mom
Mm-hmm.
and no father, no male figure in their lives, I want to be able to touch them and get them on the right path and have them, accomplish some of the goals that they want to accomplish that they think they can't do, or have some type of interference in their lives. I want to be able to come through and touch those people and change some of those lives as well.
Well, I will tell
Maybe
you.
start maybe start some type of program, youth program, outreach, some type of outreach program or something like that. That
Well,
would be something. as
I can tell
well.
you, you definitely changed my life today. You inspired me.
Thank,
I'm so grateful.
thank
I've always said a person cannot take you where a person has not been. And when God brings you through something, he trusts you with that experience to take it and to share it, because you are going to save so many men, from young men from who are in these streets, who think it's the game, who think that they got their stripes and they good and, you know, they bout it when they really not about it. And you're going to help so many of them
right.
understand what it's like to understand that very few don't make it back and very few don't
And
come
don't.
back to tell the story. And we need more men like you who are part of this First Step program. But we'll let it start with you, because you're the first step. You'll be the first to go into these communities, and you keep speaking your truth. And I want to say thank you so much on behalf of this dynamic family here. Thank you to my sister Nicole for bringing you to me and for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your story, and to the listeners of She Speaks tonight. So we honor you, we salute you, and I'm going to be stalking you to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just get ready, because I'm going to bring you up to Atlanta to be a part of the She Speaks conference in 2021. I'm sowing that seed right now, and I'm going to make sure we got some of our young youth there so that you can share those stories. I salute you, and thank you for bringing the game to the streets and staying authentic. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate you.
I know. That's all I know. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everybody. And as always, we will see you at the top, because the bottom is just too crowded. Take the first step to do something different. Dare to be different. Lead from the front. And as always, we'll see you at the top.
Yeah.